A poet who loved stars. In the sky where seasons pass in a hurry, autumn fills the air, and ready I stand without a worry to count all the stars there. Memory for one star, love for another star, loneliness for another star, longing for another star, poetry for another star, and oh, mother, mother, for another star. Have you read these lines before? They are part of the poem Counting Stars at Night by Yoon Dong-ju. The poem was written a long time ago, but still remains one of Korea's favorite poems. Dong-ju was born in 1917 near Yangbin, China. As a young boy, he loved sports, and he was a soccer player for his school. He also loved sewing so much that he sewed the numbers on all his friends' soccer uniforms. However, it was literature that he loved most. In elementary school, he wrote a lot of poems. He even made a literary magazine with his cousin, Song Mong-gyu. In middle school, he once borrowed a poetry book by a famous poet of the time, Baek Sok, and copied the whole book by hand. He really wanted to have his own copy of the rare book. His parents wanted him to be a doctor, but Dong-ju chose to study literature at a college in Seoul. During his college years, he often hung out with other young poets and wrote poetry where he expressed feelings about his hometown and lost country. To celebrate his graduation, he wished to publish 19 of his poems under the title Heaven, Wind, Stars, and Poetry. He made 3 copies of the book by hand. One was given to his close friend, Jung Byung-uk. Another was presented to his favorite professor, and the last one was kept for himself. However, his professor advised against his plan because he thought the Japanese government would not allow the publication. Dong-ju followed his advice and gave up the idea. Dong-ju decided to study further in the country where his father had studied before. So, in 1942, Dong-ju and his cousin began to study in Japan. On July 10th the following year, his cousin was arrested by the Japanese police for taking part in an independence movement. 4 days later, Dong-ju was also arrested on the same charges. In 1945, Dong-ju and his cousin died in prison after harsh treatment by the police. It was just a few months later that Korea achieved independence from Japan. In 1948, Jung Byung-uk brought Dong-ju's poems to the poet's brother, and they were finally published. The book was given the title the poet had thought of many years before. His poems are loved by people of all ages, and thus they still shine brightly in our hearts like the stars in the autumn night sky.